These are most emotional football moments that will make you cry.
Literally getting goosebumps.
Helicopters just crashed next to the stadium.
Everything.
Let's start with a story that hit the football world like a freight train. A girl named Millie Rose, 6 years old, a Manchester City supporter from the day she could understand what football was. And her favorite player was Phil Foden. Then, completely without warning, Millie was rushed to hospital. It wasn't a minor illness. Doctors discovered a severe and aggressive infection that was attacking her body from the inside, systematically shutting down her organs one by one. They threw everything they had at it. It wasn't enough. Millie Rose passed away. She was 6 years old. When Manchester City's club received the news, they immediately knew this match couldn't just be another 3 points. They announced that the next game was being played in her honor, and at the 6th minute, the entire stadium stood together and applauded. But the moment that truly defined that day didn't come from the stands. It came from Phil Foden himself, because with the whole weight of that tribute on his shoulders, and hit a goal that was simply stunning.
Keeps on coming in, keeps on coming. That is a brilliant goal. One of the best of the season. Phil Foden drifted in from the right-hand side.
The kind of finish you'd replay on a highlight reel for years. He knew what it meant the second it went in. He pointed to the sky, kissed his hands, and let everything hang in the air. No words needed. After the match, Phil posted photos of the tribute on social media, not for engagement, just to make it official. That one was for you, Millie Rose. Phil Foden reminded everyone what it can look like when a footballer actually gives a damn. Mad respect for that. But if that story hit you, then what comes next is a moment that didn't just shake a fan base. It stopped the entire football world in its tracks. October 27th, 2018. Leicester City had just played at the King Power Stadium. The match was done, the crowd was filtering out, and the club's owner, Vichai was boarding his private helicopter on the pitch. The helicopter lifted off, cleared the stadium roof, climbed into the night sky, and then something went horribly wrong.
Has been told the owner of Leicester City Football Club was on board the helicopter that crashed and burst into flames just minutes after taking off from the King Power Stadium last night.
The tail rotor shaft, the component that stops a helicopter from spinning out of control, snapped. Just like that, the aircraft began to rotate violently, corkscrewing downward with no way to recover, and crashed into the car park just outside the stadium, exploding into flames on impact. The owner, 2 members of his personal staff, and both pilots were killed. The news hit the football world like nothing in recent memory. By the next morning, the area outside the King Power had been transformed. Flowers, scarves, candles, photographs, handwritten notes tucked between bouquets. And when supporters stood in front of cameras to talk about what they'd lost, the grief was raw and completely unfiltered.
It's terrible because they're such nice people, really genuine, humble people that care for the community, and for the club, the people. It's just terrible.
Just thoughts of everybody on board, the pilots, the family, everybody. It's just the thoughts are for them and their families, really, first thing.
Because this wasn't just a chairman to Leicester City fans. Vichai was the man who had turned their club from a mid-table side into Premier League champions, one of the greatest sporting upsets of all time. He funded community programs, and this is the part where football does something that no other sport in the world does quite the same way. At the very next home game, the atmosphere was unlike anything the King Power had ever held. Banners filled every corner of the stadium. An emotional tribute played across the big screens. Before a single ball was kicked, players were already in tears in the center circle. And when Leicester scored their only goal of the match, the celebration was pointed.
55 on the clock, and how much does this goal mean to Demarai Gray and Leicester City Football Club?
The kind of moment where nobody in the stadium needed an explanation. They all understood exactly what it meant. Then came something even more extraordinary. The entire squad boarded planes and flew over 6,000 miles to Bangkok, to Vichai's home country, to attend his funeral in person. Players who had just been competing in the Premier League days earlier stood side by side, hugging the owner's son, surrounding the family in prayer, and making it clear that this wasn't just a club. It was a brotherhood. Genuinely, one of the most moving things a football team has ever done together. All right, here it is. When Lionel Messi was forced to leave FC Barcelona, it wasn't a transfer. It wasn't a football decision. After nearly 20 years, since he was a 13-year-old kid who flew from Argentina to Spain with a dream, the club could no longer afford to keep him due to La Liga's financial rules. And the press conference where he had to announce it publicly became one of the most watched moments in sports history. Messi couldn't get through his opening statement without his voice cracking. His wife Antonella was sitting nearby and passed him tissues. Tissues he kept returning to over and over as cameras captured every single second of it. This was the greatest footballer alive, and he was devastated in a way that had nothing to do with money or contracts. He was losing his home. Now, most of us watched that and just felt for him. One man in that press conference room, however, got hold of one of those used tissues, and he listed it on eBay for $1 million. His justification? Messi's DNA was on it, and theoretically, he argued, that DNA could be used to clone the greatest player who ever lived. But that wasn't even the wildest part. A model reportedly bid over $800,000 for it, with reported plans to incorporate it into a photo shoot concept. $800,000 for a used tissue from a press conference. Now let's talk about the moment that proves you should think very carefully about what you post online, especially when you're a footballer with a £1 million watch collection. Jack Grealish is the kind of guy who wears beautiful watches the way most people wear a regular wristwatch, constantly, naturally, like it's nothing. Patek Philippe's, Rolexes, Audemars Piguet's. Flip through any photo of Jack at an event, post-match, or in the paddock, and there's something expensive on his wrist. Collectively, his collection was worth somewhere in the region of £1 million. That alone would have been enough to put him on the radar of the wrong people. But then came the mansion. Jack bought a spectacular new home and immediately started planning extensive renovations. The kind of project where architects draw up detailed blueprints, floor plans, entry points, room layouts, all of it. Somehow those blueprints ended up online, and criminals who had already been watching Jack from a distance now had something far more useful than a watch collection. They had a map. December 27, 2023. While he was competing professionally in front of thousands of fans, a group of criminals drove into his neighborhood, broke into his home, triggered every alarm system in the building, and still had enough time to locate and steal his entire watch collection before vanishing. A police helicopter swept the area. Detectives opened a full investigation. The story made national news within hours. The criminals were never caught, no arrests. No leads that held up. Jack's Instagram post the following day didn't read like a social media statement, it read like a man who was genuinely shaken. He talked about feeling violated in the one place he was supposed to feel safe. He said the best year of his career, and it genuinely had been suddenly felt hollow. The watches were insured. The feeling of security in his own home wasn't. Shout out to Jack for staying composed publicly when most people would have completely fallen apart. But here's something I want you to sit with for a second, because not every emotional moment in football ends in a loss. Some of them start in pain and become the kind of story that actually gives you chills for a completely different reason. Kevin De Bruyne grew up in Drongen, a small municipality in Belgium that had absolutely nothing to do with elite football development. No feeder program, no famous academy nearby. Just a kid who was obsessed with the game and had to make a decision most 14-year-olds will never face. Leave home, leave his parents, and move in with a foster family just to get close enough to the programs that could actually develop his talent.
Well, I moved away from my parents when I was 14. First year I was in that big school where you sleep overnight with every people, and then luckily the second year I went to foster parents. I thought everything went alright. In the end of the year I'm fine. People never had to go to school for problems, discipline, I'm fine. The year is over. I say goodbye to the foster parents. I come home and my parents were like sad, crying. I'm like, what's wrong? The foster parents don't want you to come back anymore. I'm like, why? Because who you are. Like, what? Yeah, you're difficult to handle, you're very quiet, the kids who are there, it's very difficult to interact, they just find you difficult. Yeah, it's not nice to hear, because in the end I'm just a quiet person, shy person, and that's been given to me as difficult, so in the end you're right. I was going to my last year of school, so turning 17, and I was going to the second team. And I said to my parents, in two months' time, I will be in the first team. And after 1 month of preparation, I'm in the first team. Conversation, I think, beginning of the season, somewhere in August, with the mother. The mother came there because obviously she had the other people coming there. And she started to explain, yeah, but we wanted you to go to the boarding school and then in the weekend you can come. And I just said at that time, I'm like, you don't want me, I don't care. I don't care about you guys anymore. You know, I was nice to you. You didn't have the decency to say it. I'm 17 years old, I will say it to your face, I don't like you anymore.
He did it, and for a while, it seemed to be working. Kevin was a teenager who had sacrificed everything, left his family, uprooted his entire life to chase something he believed in completely. And the people who were supposed to support that journey looked at his personality and decided he wasn't worth the effort.
With the bending cross. Holland! 1-0 City! De Bruyne gets his 100th Premier League assist, of course he does!
De Bruyne didn't just make it as a professional, he became the measuring stick. 2 Premier League Player of the Season awards, a historic 100th Premier League assist, more trophies at Manchester City than most players collect in a lifetime. That Foster family didn't just miss out on Kevin De Bruyne, they accidentally built the chip on his shoulder that made him great. And I hope they watched every single one of those records get broken. And finally, the one that closes this out. If you had to construct the player who would never ever cry in public, you'd build Zlatan Ibrahimovic. The man is built like a special forces operative. He talks about himself in the third person. He once scored a goal from 35 yards with a bicycle kick at age 40. His entire public persona is built on the idea that vulnerability is something that happens to other people. AC Milan found the crack in that armor, and they didn't even have to try. When Zlatan joined AC Milan for his final chapter as a professional, he didn't just play for the badge, he embedded himself into the city. He poured hundreds of thousands of his own money into local community programs without making a show of it. He fronted fundraisers for hospitals in the region. His personal donations helped raise over €1 million for causes that had nothing to do with football statistics or legacy points. He simply cared about the people in that city, and he showed it with his wallet and his time. So when his AC Milan retirement ceremony finally arrived, the end of a career that had taken him from Malmö to some of the biggest clubs in football history, the stadium didn't wait to be told to be emotional. The moment Zlatan walked out onto that pitch one final time, 70,000 people were already gone. Then his teammates walked out and presented him with a jersey, signed personally by every single player in that squad. His wife was in tears. And then Zlatan just couldn't hold it anymore. The tears came quietly, genuinely, in front of everyone. He said goodbye to football, and football said goodbye back in the only language the game really speaks, through feeling.